Today we are going to go over, drum roll. Okay, no drum roll. GGC, the General Grand Council, at your service. And for those of you who have just passed through 401, this will be in the why, what, how format. So without further ado, we are this organization. We serve member grand and subordinate councils, and they are different, and they have different requirements, different needs, different aspirations, different ways to turn off the alarm sound. Sorry about that. We serve them in different ways. We preserve, but our baselines are to preserve the traditions and values of cryptic masonry and masonry in general, and establish and promote good standards. We provide support for the operation, growth, and expansion of our interdependent, and this is important, we're an interdependent organization of grand councils, and we are a grand council ourselves with subordinate councils for areas that do not previously have or have established yet. So the interdependency, we're a coalition or a confederation, and the difference between that and other organizations is we don't have direct control except over the local subordinate councils. We are here really to serve. It's kind of like masonry. You know, you can't order people because you don't have their paycheck and you don't have their vice president title. Well, you got a little bit of a title, but not much of one, to say you need to do this. Well, we're voluntary, and we operate the same way that masonry does, except our member constituents as bodies are the volunteers that can vote with their feet. So it's kind of a nice little the next level of how we deal with volunteer organizations in general. We also serve recognized cryptic masons, and we're not here to we do say whether or not you're regular or not when it comes to cryptic masonry, because you've either been around or you haven't. You're either recognized or you're not. When it comes to cryptic masonry, that we do pay attention to. But if you're recognized and you've been well established as a cryptic grand council, but you're not a member of the General Grand Council, we still have service opportunities for you, because we don't care about our cryptic masons. We care about cryptic masonry. So we don't give the same services. We have expansive services, but we're going to get into that in just a few minutes. And we work with all of cryptic masonry. And the last one is we can't ignore this. Every single one of us is a mason. Even before we're a cryptic mason, obviously, we're a mason. So we need to promote the craft. We need to hold those traditions, those values, those tenets true, and we do rely on the grand lodges as a part of our regulatory process for allowing us to come in and work. And we consider it part of our duty not only to support and help them, but also to be an information resource for them. How do we do this? Actually, what do we do? Well, it's real simple. The General Grand Master said, we're going to concentrate on 3 things. And I know that's an odd number for us to run under, but we're going to do transparency, open dialogue, open records. You're going to know what we're doing because you are the ones, our members are the ones that allow us to operate, that fund us to operate. We do this through leadership by example and fiscal responsibility and open communication. We innovate. Our innovations are in the methods of doing things, not in innovating the craft. We don't try to change our traditions and rituals. We try to change and adapt to the many different ways that people are communicating today. That way we can reach out and help people no matter what they're used to communicating with. And we provide options for the leadership, for education, and for interactivity opportunities. And getting to that last piece, the communication piece is one of the major focuses. We do a high touch interactivity focus by having an open door policy. Anybody who is a Cryptic Mason or recognized Mason or somebody who's invited can be on this call, and right there on your little family squares board is the General Grand Master of the General Grand Council of Cryptic Masons International, and he will accept any question and he'll answer it to the best of his ability. That's open door, and and he's available when he goes to the conferences. He's available in person. He's available when he goes to your sessions. And so are all of his officers, by the way. There's another one on here called Tom Taylor, except he's not showing himself, but that's all right. But he's available too. We just saw him this weekend, and we initiate direct line to communicate with, and that's where we start out the communications, and that's where we host a, hopefully getting back to monthly grand recorder meeting, and we're expanding. We started in the States because of the time zones, and we are expanding outside of that, but through the direct communications. And sometimes they're tiered. So Monday, tomorrow, we're going to have a regional deputies call. We are anticipating that it is going to span 18 time zones. So that's what we do and how we do it. Well, so first things first, we cleaned our house. The resolutions at Triennial 1 corrected a lot of inconsistencies between, it's not just how we were doing things, but the plausible operations of an international organization. And we're still continuing to do that. We've just done the majority of the cleaning house and the operations in the General Grand Treasurer's office and the Recorder's offices. We've established vehicles for interactivity, Zoom being one of them. We actually adopted Zoom in 2018. Nobody had been using the word pandemic except to describe movies at that point in time, or to do research in government. But we'd adopted it early, and we've continued to use it, and we've just been ready to implement a lot faster and take advantage of the fact that the craft was ready for it, kind of because we had to be. But anyway, we did have it in place, and we put on a YouTube channel at the beginning of this triennium. We also have done a lot of program work and introduced some membership options that are still in the works, and made our programs open. And we're going to go over that in just a minute. And we've established open dialogues through the fireside chats. The General Grand Council presents, which, by the way, is on the offset Sundays. In other words, this is the fourth Sunday fireside chat. Second Sunday of every month is General Grand Council presents at noon Mountain Time. And again, through the monthly meetings, that's an open dialogue. We don't invite all the members to the monthly meetings, but we invite all the elective members of the grand councils or the subordinate or constituent councils in a region to those meetings. And it's so that there can be an open dialogue, so that there's not, hey, we didn't know, we're trying to get rid of the we didn't know about this, which is also why the General Grand Master asked me to give this presentation today. So the rest of the how, the resolutions at the Triennial Session 1, amendments were revisited, how they are made, amendments to the Constitution and bylaws, and those included the instituting of the availability of emergent resolutions. In other words, if there is a need that can be documented and presented to the craft, then if it passes by a 4/5 margin to hit the floor, we can now do emergent resolutions. Limited force, well, the challenge we had was that the Constitution and bylaws fell it fell to the normal nowadays copy and paste errors. It had some challenges. So we had some references in, such as Article 10 did not exist in the Constitution. Meanwhile, a bylaw referred to it. So cleaning up the Constitution and bylaws so that it was not only readable but correct in its referencing, and it was one of the main things that happened. Vacancies. If you guys were around during 14 to 17, we had an interesting set of occurrences with the Deputy General Grand Master and the General Grand Principal Conductor of the Work positions. And now there is an established set of metes and bounds for what can be done in order to backfill in case of a vacancy. And it's in the Constitution. By the way, we also allowed these virtual assemblies, not just the informal ones where we're not talking. We also instituted that as being an option for tiled meetings, because the triennial had to. If we were going to have a triennial, it had to be virtual because of the circumstances between the pandemic and civil discourse. We'll use that word. We instituted the preamble and the landmarks. And if you haven't seen the landmarks, it's pretty straightforward. We've got landmarks. This is not a new thing. We've had them in masonry since the beginning of the UGLE. Mid 1700s, we started having landmarks that made a grand body regular, or what we referenced. Well, Cryptic Masonry now has landmarks. They are a preamble to our Constitution, and they can be seen on crypticmasons.org under resources, landmarks. Then we had the rung, which was the finance, and the audit committee and my office and the General Grand Treasurer's office got together and said, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if we didn't have references to a foundation, which is a legal entity that doesn't exist, and we put things in funds. So we did that. We distributed we followed the business model of what we're doing. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, because that's a really big, really important, and really powerful win for us. And one of my newest mentors and heroes is Chuck McCollum, because he has done an outstanding job and really has taken us to a different place. I missed one. We did, since we passed the ability to have emergent resolutions hit the floor, we did have an emergent resolution. And this is to protect our cryptic companions. There are incidences where the General Grand Chapter may not be able to provide the Royal Arch Mason requirement. And our Constitution limited us to General Grand Chapter Royal Arch Masons. We amended it not to take them out, but to add that whatever the recognized and regular by the Grand Lodge that authorizes our work to be in that jurisdiction, whatever is recognized and regular to them for Royal Arch Masonry is now acceptable to the General Grand Council. And that's so that if something happens and a Grand Chapter goes off the deep end and General Grand Chapter hasn't been able to maybe get that to come in, or Grand jurisdiction has made other, a Grand Masonic jurisdiction has maybe made other arrangements, their cryptic membership is not in jeopardy. And that predicates that we have a good relationship with the Grand Lodge, which is another point of what we are working toward. So in our housekeeping, the General Grand Treasurer's office And I put upgrades here, and it's because Chuck has really taken that to a new level. First of all, we started on a project with the chart of accounts about a year and a half ago, and the General Grand Master initiated his budget work off of it, but it wasn't implemented until actually well into last year. And Chuck did all of that. He fleshed out the chart of accounts. He made it so that navigate across funds, which were, by the way, actually described in our constitution and bylaws as a part of that update on the resolution that we talked about. And the important thing here to take away is there are 3 funds that make up the whole of the General Grand Council's budget. The first one I'm going to talk about is the one that should cause the most concern for all of us. It's the Life Membership Fund. And what was done with it was there's a steel box around it. If no money's made or if money's lost from it, we can't pull out of it. If we do pull out because money was made, there's a limit, and it's the lower of 2 options. Either the maximum amount of per capita life member that's active that we would get if they weren't a life member from our member grand council, or if it's made less than the amount that would be that amount, then we take a percentage of the dividends and interest that came in. So if just for an example, if we should have gotten $7,500 from all of the members that are life members, and we made $15,000, then we can move $7,500. If we had $7,500 that we could get and we made $5,000, then I believe the trustees would end up at $4,000. And the other part of this that's underway right now is we're actually in the process of establishing what the corpus is based upon donated amounts, or not donated. It's not donations. I apologize. Purchased life membership amounts over time, plus what was left in there to become part of the corpus. Did I get that one right this time, General Grandmaster? Okay. So we're establishing that box that is our boundary. And it's not going to be just the previous things that I described, but also the corpus cannot be invaded. And that's kind of an important piece. The next fund is the regular operating budget. Now everybody knows what a regular operating budget is, except let's make a distinction. The operating budget is for travel, bills, salaries, etc. What is happening now? And here's the differentiator. Whenever it's going to last more than 1 triennium, and the best example I can give is regalia for the officers. Why? Because those aren't kept by the officers. So those come back. So that's not going to come out of the budget for the operations. It's going to come out of the program fund, which is the 3rd fund. The program fund is where there's money that goes into it and there's money that comes out of it, because we've got 2 types of programs. We've got benefit programs, which you get as member grand councils. And I shouldn't say that necessarily because this is the fireside chat and I'm used to being on with grand council recorders, but our grand councils and our councils get member benefits because they're members and they don't pay anything for those. So that is going to be paid for by the program fund. But also the programs that we're coming out with that we charge money for, Lady of the Council has been around forever. We charge for that. The $125 doesn't pass go. It goes straight into the program fund. It doesn't hit the operating fund. And the program fund pays for any of the postage. It's a full accounting chart for anything having to do with programs. So we've got those three funds. We've got the life member fund, we've got the operating fund, and we've got the program fund. I'm going to go ahead and stop for a second and ask, does anybody have any questions about the funds? Because that's kind of a big thing.
If you have questions, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Okay. So not only did we establish this, we got that passed, and he set up the chart of accounts, and I don't know, maybe you guys see this all the time in your local bodies, but I'm usually missing one of these. But our general grand treasurer stood there and gave us a budget to actual, a revenue versus expenses, and a balance sheet that were all accurate, referenceable, and in place at our session. I was so proud that day. That was an awesome day. So that's what I mean by we're cleaning our house. We want it to be easily navigable by, we want it to be very upfront, clear. And the other thing that's being worked on now, and it's not, this one's not just Chuck, this is actually Michelle as well. They are working together cooperatively because we do the inventory in and out, and he does the inventory in and out accounted for. So they're working fastidiously to get all of our inventory. We're getting SKU numbers, storekeeper unit numbers. We're getting the website to do automation for inventory accounting, and it's going to drop down to QuickBooks. We're working hard to get that done. And we're not, like I said, we're not done with the housekeeping stuff, but we've made huge strides. In my office, aside from what she's doing with that, we're working with automation and online learning, or not learning, online ordering and process flows. So when the grand recorders have their sessions coming up, we've actually documented a process flow. So 4 months in advance, we're going to reach out and say, hey, how you doing? This is who we plan on sending to represent General Grand Council. Is there anything you need from us? At 3 months, hey, first notice, you've got some awards that you might want to order, and here's the forms, links to those, and yada, yada, yada. Well, we're putting those into an automation flow so that the emails are going to go out automatically saying, you know, and they're going to have some options for, yes. Another example is if somebody orders a veterans medal, the veterans medal requires, or any of our awards require, that the orderer or the recipient, in the veterans medal case anyway, the ordering person or the recipient be a Cryptic Mason in good standing. Well, this is going to send off the email to the Grand Recorder's office saying, hey, is this guy a Cryptic Mason in good standing? And then once that comes back with, they just check the box, yes or no, and hit send, then Michelle can go to filling the order. This is going to save a whole lot of time. So we're trying to optimize and automate the functionality because we're doing a lot of stuff. And at the same time, we're documenting it because we need to be able to rely on, count on, and make sure that these processes can continue or be adapted in the future because new technologies come out. I mean, 3 different people say at Masonic conferences in the last 2 months, yeah, Facebook isn't really used by the kids these days, so I don't know why we're going out to them. Well, it is used by some of the kids these days, the 20 and 30-year-olds that want to talk to people, because Facebook has been adopted by those of us who are at the age of being grandparents. So we do have things that are in place, and we do have things that are coming. Okay, so we have adopted Zoom and YouTube, like I said. It's and our Zoom platform, by the way, is available for use by any Masonic organization. It's first come, first serve, and gratuities are gratefully accepted. We don't charge per se. And this has been taken advantage of by many people who needed it at the time. So most of the advantage that's been taken is when a grantee needed to do their sessions or the like. And it's used for internal and global communication because it's easy, and in most cases it's cheap. The worst place is Africa. They haven't adopted too many Zoom hubs at this point in time, but it is used in Europe, it's used in Asia, and it's used in North and South America. We use YouTube, streaming of any of the important events, and also for use by Masonic organizations. The General Grand Chapter's triennial session was live streamed on YouTube, and there were a lot of hits on it, and it's actually still up there. And CMMRF has some really good little commercials, and also has had some presentations by Dr. Murphy that are available on YouTube. Now, whatever you're going, maybe you don't want to show the highly medical technology verbiage ones, maybe you don't want to do a 2-minute, whatever, it's available. It's a tool that is available to everybody that wants to promote. So that's the point of the YouTube, is that it's going to be there now and later. Also up there are previously given education, some of the meetings and the commercials, as I said. And it is an archive of the contributions that have been made by so many to cryptic masonry especially, and masonry in general. We're going to go on to member programs. So we're going to start off with the Ronald L. Thomas Ritual Award. That is the most underutilized member benefit that we have, period, end of story. Any member earn this award, and the award, I'm going to be very particular about this, the award doesn't cost them anything. We box it up and ship it. If your Grand Recorder sends us a form that says that you completed all the requirements, we're going to believe him and we're going to send it. That is a member benefit. There is no cost to it, and it promotes ritual. Now, the reason I was so explicit about that is because we have just recently come out with a Royal Master and Select Master passport. And I don't think I have any right here with me to show you, but I believe I do have. Maybe I don't, but we'll see in a second. Did I put one in here? Passport, Royal Master, excellent, fantastic. But what they do is they outline all of the requirements for the Royal Master degree of the Ronald L. Thomas Ritual Award. And they give the individual a documentation reference for the Grand Recorder and a keepsake item for their journey, because this is not an easy award to earn. This has recitation requirements. In other words, letter perfect recitation of one of the roles, and performance. And the difference there, everybody understands that when we're sitting there and we're doing our mantra, we can recite it word for word. And when you're on the floor, sometimes you just can't recapture that particular sentence, so you use something as a substitute. Well, if you're substantive and your performance is good, you've got tone, you've got inflection, and you've got the floor work, but you missed a couple words, then the performance is valid. The recital should be word for word, because that's going to lend to having a class A performance, which is what we're really looking for. We're looking for the ability to initiate an actual initiatic experience. So you got to do both of those in order to earn this award. And this outlines of the requirements that you go through. And then it gives you pages that show you what you did, when you did it, who was signing for it. And there can be a lot of questions on this, but the reality is we're leaving it to the grand jurisdiction to say what is the ritual used, because we do know that some of our grand jurisdictions have their own ritual, and that's okay. What ritual was used and what the requirements are for who can sign it. So in the General Grand Council, the General Grand Master is going to assign that for our subordinates, which is going to be the newly approved 27th edition of the Royal and Select Master Ritual, which is for our subordinate councils and available to our member Grand Councils. And the person who can hear it is probably going to be I'm pretty sure that the General Grand Master would accept if the illustrious master or his assignee would in our subordinate councils, they could sign off on it. But the reality is, at a performance, when you've got I go to the Colorado River Fall Festival, there are 5 states involved in that, and there's 1 degree director. The easiest way to do it is to point at the degree director and say, I did this, and then have them sign it. But that has to be approved by your Grand Council. So this is the passport. We do charge for the passport. Again, the program fund is funded by the items that we sell. So the passport is not required for earning the award, but it is there for an easy reference on how to earn the award, and to have the tracking mechanism so that it's all in one place. Because getting signatures from what you've done in these 17 different places for the last 3 years is not always the easiest thing. So, and it's also a way to inspire people to actually go and work toward it, which is another really good reason to have it. Okay, we've got the 10% gain award. We are opening up. Sometimes we're closing back, sometimes we're opening up, but your councils may actually have a 10% net gain, which means that you had more come in, affiliation, greetings, plural, whatever, go out, death, NPD, demit, etc. If you've got 10% more net gain, your council has earned a 10% net gain award. And you know what? That's cool, because it recognizes them for doing the work of masonry, cryptic masonry. Every year, your Grand Council, a member Grand Council, has the opportunity to give a Cryptic Mason of the Year and an Adult Youth Leadership Award out to members for free. These are all free, by the way. Down here, they're all free. The only thing that costs any money on this slide is the passport. And again, that's an incentive program to get people working and easy documentation. But back to the 4 on the bottom, all of those are free to the jurisdiction. And you know, I generally recommend, we haven't done much in the last year or so, but that's when you notice somebody who got overlooked because you had 3 shining stars and you had to pick one. And there's somebody that you can recognize that you might reinvigorate. So I would encourage everybody to try and find somebody to give this to. And then there's the Mordhurst Award. And if you haven't heard of that, it's a great award. It's for a grand recorder who has managed to stay in their position for, or has been, sentenced to, volunteered for that position for 10 years. We actually have one or two of them on here. Hi, Mark. Thank you for your service, by the way.
It isn't a life sentence, though.
That's what you say. Just so that you see what these look like, and I'm not going to open them all the way out, but this is a 10% gain award. And we have the Cryptic Mason of the Year is given out in a medal, and there's a lapel pin. And there is a, this is the Mordhurst Award. This is the Lady of the Council. We've discussed that a little bit. And that's all we've talked about so far. But here's the Cryptic Masonry. Where's the Adult Youth Leadership? There it is. There's the Adult Youth Leadership. And by the way, over the past 2 years, 3 years, been implementing certificates that people get when they have earned one of our awards. So what you can expect to come when you order one of these awards is there will be a certificate, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but we're rounding things out and including a lapel pin and a medal in most cases, especially for the programs that are self-funded. So those are the member programs, and an idiosyncrasy is coming up. So for our members, we have subordinate councils, we have grand councils. One of the subordinate councils is the Preservation Council. Now, I don't know how many people on here might be from a non-member grand council, but this is important because a member of Preservation Council is eligible to earn the Ronald L. Thomas Ritual Award. A member of the Preservation Council is eligible to earn that award. So that's kind of where that is. And non-member grand jurisdictions, all of their members are welcome into the Preservation Council. And it's going to be going to work soon. We've got a great example is Jack Harper III is the illustrious master of the Preservation Council. And he is from Texas. That is definitely not a member. So they're going to be going to work, and it's a coin toss about what they're going to be doing. But if you've got any friends from our non-member grand council, just let them know that there's going to be some decent work. And I think it's going to have to do with research, but there might also be some work on funding a portion of something for General Grand Council or whatnot. Okay, so we're now at the point that Monty really was trying to get me to focus on, and this is where I want you to open participation. And one thing that John Huth might not see here is his creation, which is the Barnabas Award. And that's because we haven't gotten the documentation in place yet. So we're not putting it on the board, but it's on the list. So I want to explain. Arizona, like many grand councils, gave out an Ish Sodai Award and still does. But they had a program in place. Hey, you can just earn this. You don't have to be man of my choice. It's not somebody's, it's, did you do these things? And it's an outstanding program. So outstanding that I said, hey, we'd like to use that. And then I said, wait a minute. Not everybody is going to use ish sodai to do it. Because the ish sodai award might mean something else to other people. So what the executive committee and the trustees approved was, and I don't know if I've got a full, I might not have a full, yeah, I do. Okay. So this is the Friend Zaybud passport. And this is very much like the passports for degrees, but it focuses on 5 areas, and I call it a merit badge award. Go out, do the work, get the badge. The areas of work, lodge service. Fellas, we can't ignore the lodges, and a lot of our programs that I'm going to talk about in the next 5 or 10 minutes are focused on, let's get back to the lodge and let's help the lodge. Let's do things with the lodge. Do things. I'm not going to talk to you about membership. I'm going to talk to you about what are we doing with the lodge. So you can, one of the areas that you need to work in, and there are 5, you got to do work in 4 in order to earn the award. So you can get by without doing it in lodge, but lodge is the first stop. Next up is council. And these are things that a normal active cryptic Mason would do. Attend all your meetings, act as an officer, do grand council, grand lodge committee work. These are not hard things. They're activity things that are really recording just what a normal active cryptic Mason will do. And then you get a pin and life is good. And so we got lodge service, council service, then we go to ritual work. That might be considered a cornerstone of our, of our Masonry. So ritual work is the 3rd area. Visitation is the 4th area. I don't know about y'all, but in New Mexico, it's landmark 14th, and visitation is one rights and benefits of being a Mason. And I got to tell you, I have seen some great things when I go visiting. I was talking on this call this morning about seeing Sean less than 24 hours ago in DC, which was a drive for him and a couple flights for me. It's awesome to go and meet and be with and hang out with your friends, brothers, companions, and Sir Knights from around the world. And we need people to know that, because there's too many that never leave their lodge. Anyway, next one up is CMMRF. That's self-explanatory, but in case it's not, Tom is on the call and he'll be happy to inform you. And also we've got a couple of Dick Fowler's on the call. He's one of our area coordinators as well. So I'm sure he has a couple of things to say about CMMRF. These are the points at which an active cryptic Mason is going to interact. Any of your active cryptic Masons, Friend Zaybud should be a 1, 2, 3 go pin to earn. But that's the point. And that came from how Arizona does their Ish Sodai. They've also got one that we're in the process of adopting and elevating to a General Grand Council award. That is the Barnabas Award, compliments of John Huth, who is on this call. And it's the same thing. It's a merit badge for, hey, this is what a council should do during a normal year. And then there's the Lady of the Council. And if you don't know about the Lady of the Council, well, first get the ladies that let us get together and do these things. Second, it's been available since 1990 something, and right now they're $125, and it's for any lady that you or your council wants to recognize for her contributions. for instance, my lady went and reorganized all the files in the Grand York Rite office, and I don't even have a clue how many dinners she's made for our meetings. And she goes and takes photographs for a lot of organizations, and she doesn't complain when I go out of town and I come back for one day and then I go to DC, which happened last week. So keep your ladies in mind. They're the ones who are there to support us. Well, here's an opportunity to support them back a little bit. What I was talking about a little bit ago is to and through the lodge programs. The trustees have made available 3 awards that are, I call them to and through the lodge. This is for Cryptic Masons, sure, but also for your lodges. And they're open for co-branding by a lodge and or any Masonic organization. Our focus, please go do this with lodges. It's not a have to, obviously. Please go do this with lodges is our request. And then if you've got a DMLA chapter, or if you've got national sojourners, or if you've got Daughters of the Nile that want to give one of these awards out, they're available for any Masonic organization to give out. And that means that Edgewood Lodge number 82 proudly presents to Ashley Renee Balke, and it's going to be signed by Trevor Wallen, not the General Grand Master, not the most illustrious Grand Master, but Trevor Wallen is the worshipful master of Edgewood Lodge, and it's going to be attested to by the secretary, Ben Marin, and they give out the award. The certificate has our medal and our seal on it, and it says that Ashley Renee Balke earned the first responders, the Cryptic Masons International First Responders recognition, but that's where it stops. Now, our goal is that you will take a picture with the worshipful master and the recipient in the middle, and then the officers or whoever, and then there's a purple coat standing over there on the left side or the right side at the end. The point here is that you have an opportunity to extend the lodge out to the community and bring Masonry to people's attention in a positive and grateful light for their service. And at the same time, you're exposing Cryptic Masonry to the lodge that you're providing that service for. And it's just a win-win for everybody. All 3 of these awards are offered at $50 a piece. And the reason that they're $50 is because they got a nice little presentation case. They've got a lapel pin and they've got a medal. For those of you who have already earned and bought the medal, for the Veterans Medal, the lapel pins will be here in about a month. They've just been, or a month and a half, Customs and the United States Postal Service notwithstanding, but they've just been authorized. It's a nice lapel pin. It is the metal portion of the medal, and it's a great, and they're going to be offered for $5 for anybody who's already received the Veterans Medal. It's we don't think you want the presentation box, but those are going to be available. But they get a certificate, they get the letter, they get the Veterans Medal, they get the lapel pin, and they get the presentation box. So it's a nice professional presentation. We don't have a letter per se that goes out with the First Responder Award or for the Youth Advocate Award. But again, look at the 3 demographics that we're talking about for these awards: veterans, first responders, and the Youth Advocate Award is for any adult who is in a program that facilitates future generation doing good things. 4-H, FFA, Boys Club, Scouters, big one, Scouters, because a lot of people have tried to give the Adult Youth Leadership Award to Scouters, and we shouldn't be doing that. That's for our DMLA, Rainbow, and Jobs, and sometimes Triangle. It's not sometimes Triangle. If you're from New York, you know what Triangle is. It's a young ladies Masonic youth organization, and those we accept for the Adult Youth Leadership Award. And by the way, if they've already received the Adult Youth Leadership Award and you want to give them a Youth Advocate Award, we're not going to say no. That's fine. You know, you don't have to choose. And the other difference is we give you one a year for your jurisdiction of the Adult Youth Leadership Award. The Youth Advocate Award, yes, it costs $50, but you can order as many as you want. These are all designed so that you can go to 10 lodges and have 10 different programs going, and everybody can have a good interaction, and you can provide those services to the lodges through the lodges to the community, recognizing people who work hard, recognizing them through Masonry, and letting Masonry know that we care and we want to be there to help. The other thing that we've got hot off the press, by the way, and I just got to find it. All right, we've got lovely, wonderful, actual jewels, and I just got to find the right file. These jewels, if you have not had the opportunity to read John Boker, Most Illustrious Grand Master of South Carolina's article, this is what the jewels are supposed to look like. The idiosyncratic portion of that is it's not what people will sell us. And the major difference is up here at the top. But if you go back to the General Grand Council proceedings, which are on the website, thank you, David Grindle, for doing a whole lot of work. They're on the website, and you go to the 5th triennial proceedings, what you're going to see is the pictures of these jewels. Not all of them, because you know what? Mackey didn't think we were going to have an assistant grand recorder and an assistant grand treasurer. And that's okay. We went ahead and made an assistant grand recorder because they might have them. We've got a grand captain of the guard that is actually the axe. And if you go to most places, the axe is relegated to the conductor of the council, which is not the way it's supposed to be. Anyway, got these available. These are in customs in Indianapolis, but they will be available very shortly. And they do include some of our newer pieces that Mackey did not include, like a Grand Marshal was not included until a later book. So they're not actually in that proceedings of the General Grand Council. The Grand Organist, it was not included by Mackey. The Grand Master of Ceremonies was not included by Mackey. Grand Orator and Grand Lecturer were not included by Mackey. But as you can see, we have carried on what the other jewels reflected and made them different. And the one that is not what you see usually is the Grand Order. That was just to kind of differentiate, because the rolling scroll on the lecture sometimes gets overused. So the order is let's do the hear ye, hear ye. An interesting thing also is that, oops, wrong one. We also have available subordinate council jewels. No wreath and silver. We can get them in gold if that is your tradition, and these will be available shortly. Again, all of the first order of jewels is sitting in Indianapolis waiting for US Customs to come around to our, hey, we need them. So, and just to elaborate a little, when I said innovation earlier, I mean, when Monty said innovation, I went, people are going to go crazy because you said innovation. That's one of those 4-letter words. Well, the innovation is the method. getting the communication channels open, communicating, putting programs into place that are going to encourage learning the traditional work, preserving the traditional work. When I said that the triennial approved the 27th edition of the Royal and Select Master, it's true. It's true. Bill Lott's on this call. We spent a lot of time together with Clyde Schoolfield, who was the major moving force behind this. He took it back to the 1920s. The only pieces that you're going to see in our 27th edition that weren't there in the 20s are going to have optional up here at the top and bottom of why they're there. Or it's going to be something that's anything. We shouldn't have put a punctuation mark there, whatever. But those are the errata, and there's only like 20 per degree. And also at the triennial, the 16th edition of the Super Excellent Master for the General Grand Council was also approved. That passport's not out yet. We're trying to get that under wraps, but there are a lot of different renditions of the Super Excellent Master ritual that we want to take into account and have that. And that's being kind of spearheaded by our Deputy General Grand Master, Bill Snyder. So those are the jewels and the rituals, and the Super Excellent Master, by the way, was dropped back to the teens, 19 teens, not 20 teens, 19 teens. And if you haven't met Clyde and you know just exactly how emphatic he can get about this is what it was, we need to stick with it, then show up where he's going to be, because it's an interesting conversation. He gets pretty, it's one of his soapboxes, but he did a great job and he got it passed. And now we're looking to have the new rendition of the Royal and Select Master with the errata out by November 1st. And we're looking to have the Super Excellent Master, because we're making new plates for it, out by January 1st. For those of you who have bought the 2018 provisional ritual, there will be an errata available to your grand recorders that can be distributed. And again, there aren't that many changes. There are some significant changes, but there aren't that many. So the errata is a valid document. The 2018 provisional is usable, and the new ones are coming out shortly. And Steve's going to learn how to use his mouse soon. Last how, I think, is videos now and later. Direct access to the General Grand Master and officers. And we have an introduction. Usually it's educational. This one's promotional. And then we have General Grand Council presents, and Reed Fanning has been doing, and Reed Fanning and Jason Varner have been doing an outstanding job of getting people who are real researchers doing real things and presenting them on our channel. And most are recorded for posterity's sake and then released on the channel. And they go from everything from esoteric to definitions. So we're at that point, General Grand Master, where I say, what questions do you have, and what do we at the General Grand Council we need to know